folks, it's 7 o'clock, so you can take your seats. We'll get underway here. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Finance to order. This is the budget deliberations meeting for 2026, and it is what, March 30th, 2026 at 7 p.m. I want to start by thanking a whole lot of people who were involved in the process of putting both the school and town budgets together. If I leave anybody off the list, my apologies. I tried to think of it. I want to start by thanking both the town and school staff. I want to recognize Mr. Jim Sullivan, the Director of Finance for the town, for his significant effort on this budget, and his counterpart at the school department, the Director of Finance and Personnel, Ms. Alicia Sterling. On the town side, I also want to recognize Melanie Roberts, who is our new Admin Services Director, and Theodore from Human Services, Tom Curioso, who came back out of retirement, is currently our Acting Director of Public Works, Chris Greenleaf, the Town Engineer, Nate Maselli, who's also with Public Works, Jill Senior from the Solid Waste Department, Dan Smith from the WPCA, Stacy Haskell in the Selectman's Office, the Chief of Police, Jay Del Grosso, Deputy Chief Olson, and Captain Snyder. And from the school department, I want to recognize and thank Acting Superintendent Tim Smith, Director of Operations and Facilities Stephen Carroll, and Director of Technology Mr. Chris Williston, and I already mentioned Ms. Strickland. So also want to recognize the efforts of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Middleton, the First Selectman, Deb Norman, one of our Selectwomen, and Brian Bentz, the Minority Selectman. And I want to recognize the Board of Education, thank Chairman Farouk for his work, make a special mention of Kevin Agnello, who's a member of the board who did a significant amount of work on their budget in terms of putting together all their spreadsheets, and I want to thank the Board of Education as a whole. Finally, I want to thank all the members of the Board of Finance. We've had a pretty busy past 2 months, and I know everybody up here has put a great deal of time and a lot of careful thought into their decision making. So, and again, if I left anyone out, I apologize, but the problem with recognizing anyone is you're always at risk of forgetting someone. And then I want to briefly mention, without getting into too much detail because I think we'll just confuse people, but during the course of our meetings with the Board of Education, as a result of some questions about their original, the numbers they originally put in front of us, the Board of Ed actually went back and revised their budget request, and it reduced it by about $69,000 to their updated request, which actually came after we had set our number, is $48,257,147. And when you apply the adjustments that got them to that number in the first place from where they started, if you apply that to their maintain current services number, that number turns out to be $47,619,090. And the Board of Finance, in our deliberations that sent the budget to this public hearing, set a number at $47,957,147, which is essentially halfway in between the Board of Education's maintain current services number and their formal request. We had okay, I just briefly want to mention what the Board of Finance can do and can't do relative to the school budget. Basically, we can set a bottom line. We have no authority over, we do not have line item authority. We're further restricted in what we can do with the school budget by what a state statute that's referred to as the minimum budget requirement statute. And that effectively says the Board of Finance has to provide funding at least equal to the previous budget year's education budget. We're well above that number. The other thing I want to mention is, because this has come up over the course of the budget cycle, Board of Finance does not get involved in setting pay for any employees of the school department. Those are matters of negotiation between the Board of Education and the unions that represent the employees. And we have to live with whatever those negotiated salaries are. Finally, I'll just briefly go through the format of this hearing. If you want to make a comment, there's a microphone at the front of the auditorium, so I'd ask you to come down, state your name, address your comments to the board. I'm going to ask you to try to stick to a 3-minute limit, and I'm going to time it, and I'll kind of give you a nod at 2.5 minutes, but I'm not going to say that's an absolute number, but other people want to speak, and we've got to, it'd be nice to get through this fairly, in a fairly timely fashion. We're going to go through the budget by major department, so if you want to make a comment on that part of the budget, please come down and do so. If you have comments for some other part of the budget later, you can come back and speak to that. Let me just see if there's anything else. Okay, and then following the public hearing, we'll take a break, and then we will reconvene in that, which is actually a new special meeting where the Board of Finance will deliberate and hopefully tonight set a final budget number to send to the referendum. So with that, the meeting is now open to public comment, and the first part of the budget is the Office of the First Selectman, which is currently set at $1,142,818. So does anybody have any comments on the Selectmen's budget? Does anybody have any comments on the Selectmen's budget? Anybody have any comment on the Selectmen's budget? Hearing none. The next part of the budget is Department of Administrative Services, which is $5,956,248. Does anybody have any comments they want to make on administrative services? Administrative services, comments on administrative services. So moving on, Department of Assessment, $518,734. Any comments on the Department of Assessment? Any comments on the Department of Assessment? Any comments on the Department of Assessment? So hearing none. Department of Finance is $1,955,979. Any comments on the Department of Finance? Any comments on the Department of Finance? Any comments on the Department of Finance? So hearing none, moving on. Debt service, $7,122,875. Any comments? Any comments? Any comments? Okay. Department of Land Use and Development, and just as a note, that is a combination of the former planning department and the building department. So in your budget, you will see that it's starting at $1,048,624, and the previous departments are carried for historical purposes at other sections in the budget. So, any comments on Department of Land Use and Development? Any comments? Any comments? No comments. Department of Public Works is $9,918,375. Any comments on Department of Public Works? Any comments on Department of Public Works? Oh, sure. Just state your name and, if you wish, your address, just so we have, have it for the record.
My name is Paul Getz.
Is that switched on? I don't think the mic is switched on.
Basically, first.
Should be on the top. There's a sliding switch on the top of Testing, testing.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll start the clock.
All right. Appreciate that. My name is Paul Getz, address 926 Stonington Road, 906 Stonington Road, 908 Stonington Road, a couple others. My wife and I own Stonington Marina. I'm a third generation of my family on Wickety-Quack Cove. I'm passionate about the Cove and its environment. I founded the Wickety-Quack Clean Water Coalition, which we have some members in attendance here. If you guys kind of stand real quick. So, all here advocating for clean water for Wickety-Quack. I'm speaking to you today because we have a community pollution problem. And that community pollution problem emanates from failing septics that were installed in wetlands by permission of Stonington and dozens of properties. And unfortunately, the sewage does not stay under the property that is discharging it into the water. It flows, and it has contaminated wells, it contaminates storm drains, it contaminates the Cove, which are tidal waters of the United States, and causes problems. In our community, people have had their wells test positive for fecal coliform, which we now know to be human because we've done DNA testing. They've had to install abatement against that at high cost. Many people are afraid to drink their water. In the summer, it's well documented that it's not safe to recreate in the Cove, so you don't want to swim in it. You have to keep your children out of it. And this is a very serious problem. The town of Stonington was informed of this problem as early as 2022 in September. We have not had any action from the town of Stonington to help in this, and we're asking for your help. The first step in this process is to find out what the situation is. There's a lot of whisper down the lane and old tales about there being ledge and the inability to put sewer in, but there is zero credible information as to what it would cost to put city sewer in, which would fix the problem. The citizens of Wickety-Quack and the businesses are not in position to fix this themselves because the problem is the water table, and you cannot fix the water table, okay? So we're asking your help to take that very first step to understand what it would cost and what it would take to abate this very serious pollution problem, which is really not befitting of a town like Stonington. So we appreciate your consideration on this. As a thought for you, this board is proposing to, or commission, board is proposing to reinstate the subsidy for the Wastewater Pollution Control Authority, which subsidizes the ratepayers who are the 45% of this town who do have city sewer. If we can afford to do that, I think a more ethical thing to do would be to start down the road of giving our citizens in Wickety-Quack clean drinking water. I'll conclude just by saying that the scope of this problem is very significant. Testing shows that to date, it covers 1.1 miles. We have not found the end of it. It's a little bit like a cancer, and we haven't got to a clean sample yet. So, and then in the town, we are talking about 68 single and multifamily dwellings, 20 retail businesses, 12 office condominiums, 3 motels, 3 marinas, and 2 event spaces. This is a pretty good chunk of the economic base of Stonington. It's a pretty good chunk of the population. And we know that this issue is new to the Board of Finance, but we ask you for your consideration in helping us start towards cleaning up this historic problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any,
Last thing for the crowd, if you want to join our petition, we've got a QR code over here, and afterwards, we're happy to let you sign up. Thank you.
okay, whether it's Public Works or WPCA, we understand the issue, but anyway. Anybody else with comments on the Public Works budget? Roads and bridges would be Public Works, so if you have a comment about roads and bridges, now is the time.
The prior speaker did such a good job. It's a hard act to follow.
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Hello?
Yeah. Excellent. And can you just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Julia Perry. I live at 36 Money Point Road, Masons Island. And I'm here to make a comment for all people on the island who are older, particularly, for all the people on the island, but particularly for people who are older and will need the help of fire trucks and ambulances and any kind of emergency vehicle. Because I have 2 neighbors who have weak hearts, one who can barely walk, and I'm not such a hot walker myself. And I'd like to say that it's very important to us that we be able to cross the Masons Island Bridge, which for the last 10 years, the Climate Change Task Force has asked for money to restore that bridge. And we need it because it doesn't do us any good to have all those excellent services if we can't take advantage of them. And many of us have paid taxes. I know for us, it's been more than 22 years of that. And we don't have children in the schools or that kind of expense that we're putting on the town. But we are going to need emergency vehicles. If our houses are on fire, we're going to need a fire truck. If someone has a heart attack, or I, for example, don't have good balance, and if I fall down, I may need to have a stretcher and have somebody pick me up and take me into town, but if they can't get across the bridge, the services are useless to us. So I would ask on behalf of many people on Masons Island that you give serious consideration to making sure that at this point, the bridge is going to have a serious viewing and is going to be fixed soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, the Masons Island Bridge is included in this budget cycle,
I know.
along
but
with 2 or 3 other bridges. It's one of the reasons the capital
I know.
budget is so high.
I knew that happened, and I just wanted to make sure that it didn't get pushed to the bottom again, if that's okay to say. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for Public Works?
Hi, Dana, North Water Street. I'm not sure if I missed it. It's definitely the least profound of the 3 questions, but are there plans for repaving and repainting of road lines and stuff? I'm thinking about North Water Street, but there are plenty that need some attention. I'm wondering if that's in the budget.
Like there is money in the budget for roads, road repair. The Public Works would have decisions on what gets done. Any other comments for Public Works?
My name is Philip Ruffman. I live on 66 Palmaneck Road. In reference to what Paul has just mentioned, what I think would be one thing that would be advantageous to everyone in that area, if we get public water or westerly water right now, which currently runs up to the Greenhaven Light, goes down and loops all the way around again, to extend water out Route 1 with the houses involved or in their vicinity of the polluted area, and it's in the groundwater. We have wells that we're living on, and I fear my well is contaminated, and that's with human waste. So it isn't anything from ducks or geese or whatever, it's human waste. It would be advantageous to everyone in the Wickedy-Quogue area to have city water installed, and running a line down a Palmer Road isn't that hard, or along Route 1. And that's what I have to comment on. Would you consider that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Public Works? Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to Police Services. Any comments on Police Services?
Hi, my name is Del Martz. I live at 40 Shalandasi Road, over next to, I guess, Dean's Mill, and lived here since 2014, and both of my children have gone from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade now. Today, I wanted to talk about the flock security cameras.
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Sure. The flock security cameras that were approved in the budget in 2022, kind of during the COVID. Since then, in 2025, there was a critical vulnerability found in these flock cameras that makes them a target for not only bad actors like Iran and China and those kind of things, but the Electronic Frontier Foundation did a pretty good dive into the flock security cameras. And many of the security vulnerabilities that they found were startling. And it took Flock a very long time to patch these vulnerabilities. And the reaction of the company itself was also disconcerting. The CEO called many of the privacy advocates and the Electronic Foundation itself terror.
Hold on a second. Two, check 1, 2.
And with a lot of times there are many security vulnerabilities with our routers and our computers, and it's not the security vulnerabilities themselves that are the most concerning thing. It's the way that the company reacts to those security vulnerabilities that really, as someone who works in IT, kind of lights your hair on fire. Because we can't see into Flock's security cameras. We have to hire third-party people to find security vulnerabilities, and Flock's very quiet and secretive about all of their technology, which has been shown to be fairly insecure. So I wanted to at least make you all aware of these problems, because it's not just about the devices themselves, but about the systemic risk. Because the security cameras don't just collect information on license plates, they store that data right, in cloud servers, which is privatized. So our police officers don't need a warrant in order to get anybody's license plate, which means that bad actors, like a county sheriff in Wisconsin, can then query that database to find perhaps their ex-wife, which has happened.
Okay, sir, can you, you're over 3 minutes, and you need to tie this to a budget issue. Because that's what we deal with. We deal with the town's budget.
Yes, so there is currently a proposal in Connecticut House Bill 5449 in which if the board would tie the funding to those flock cameras to 3 requirements. Number 1, that there's a 7-day purge that we should adopt for data retention, exceeding the state minimum to ensure that we aren't tracking law-abiding neighbors. Number 2, that we have case number locks. So the software must require a valid CAD dispatch case number before any search can be performed. And 3, that we have an external audit. Monthly audit logs should be reviewed by the Board of Police Commissioners to catch any curiosity searches or patterns of profiling. I thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, does anybody else want to make comments on the police budget? Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, we will move on to human services. Any comments on human services?
Good evening. My name is Bill Smith, 56 Stony Brook Road. I have the privilege of being a trustee for the Mystic and Noank Library. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask for your continued support of a modest 3% increase in the town funding for the library as part of the upcoming budget. The Mystic and Noank Library has been part of this community since 1893. For well over a century, it has served as a place for not just books, but for the learning, connection, and community life. Today, that role is stronger than ever. The numbers tell an important story. Library visits have grown significantly, up nearly 10% for the last 2 years. Digital usage, programs, and community engagement have also increased. This isn't a static institution. It is a vibrant, heavily used resource that continues to expand its impact. What's especially important is how efficiently the library operates. It is a nonprofit that largely supports itself through fundraising, volunteers, and careful financial management. About a third of our funding comes from the towns of Stony Brook and Groton, another third from fundraising, and the rest from its endowment. That means the town's contributions goes a long ways. The requested increase from roughly $120,000 to $124,000 is just 3%, about half the rate of the proposed town budget increase. These funds cover essential costs like staffing, materials, utilities, and technology, all of which directly serve approximately 14,000 residents each year. When we step back into the bigger picture, it's not just...
Hold on, sir.
And so we step back into the bigger picture,
It's
money's dead.
yeah, why don't we? We're going to get a mic that isn't going to die. Hold on a second. We're going to take Paul's mic away from him. I've also reset your timer, so.
Yeah, good. Paul,
please
thank you.
continue.
So we step and look at the bigger picture. Stonington's support for its library is already very modest. The town spends about $26 per resident of library services, about half of the Connecticut average of about $62 per person. Yet we benefit from 3 excellent libraries and the Historical Society. At its core, the library supports early literacy, lifelong learning, access to technology, and a self-welcoming space for all people. These are fundamental services that strengthen the quality of life at Stonington. I understand and appreciate the need for financial discipline, but I also believe that it is a highly efficient investment in a resource that delivers real, measurable value to our residents every day. For all these reasons, I respectfully ask for your continued support for the 3% increase in funding for the Mystic and Knowing Library. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Michelle Kirk, and I live at 17 Fallon Road in Pawcatuck, and I'm here to request your support for the modest 3% increase for the Stonington Public Library. For all the reasons we've just heard about libraries, I think we live in a time where we're very divided in many ways, especially politically. We also live in a time where a lot of people are isolated. And I think libraries are the perfect tool to combat both of those. And I'll speak specifically to the Stonington Library because I've lived in the town for 15 years. My children came up through the summer reading program. As an adult now, I take advantage of a lot of the adult programs. So it's a place where people from every part of town can enjoy the resources, see a friendly face, free of charge, and literally from the time, from toddlers to the older members of our community, that we provide so many cultural resources and so many book clubs and just a wealth of opportunity to combat some of the isolation and division in our communities today. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Beth Savage, and I live at 98 Water Street in Stonington, and I am also here to speak in support of the 3% increase in library funding in the proposed budget. As you know, our community libraries are an important resource that provide free access to physical and digital collections, technology, literacy initiatives, and more. At the Stonington Library, our key service statistics such as circulation, program attendance, and foot traffic are on the rise year over year. In fact, over 53,000 people stepped through our doors last year. And this modest budget increase will help us to continue to serve those constituents well. Again, I respectfully request that you consider approving this increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jean Fiore, and I too am here to speak in support of the Stonington Free Library. In addition to what Beth just mentioned, we've had over 9,000 people attend library programs this past year. And we've had over 1,700 kids and teens attend our summer activities. We also deliver materials to those who cannot physically come to the library. I think that's one of the more wonderful programs that we offer. And I just wanted to say that I think all great civilizations invest in libraries. I'd like to think that Stonington is a great example of that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Kinnicky. I reside at 296 River Road in Stonington. And tonight I'm here as the volunteer executive director for the Ocean Community Chamber Foundation. I apologize, I was unavailable at your last meeting. I was out of the country, and I understand that there were some questions that arose regarding our organization and the $2,000 line item that has been allocated by the town of Stonington for the past several years. So I wanted to be here tonight to address that. I did note that the line item was cut, much to our disappointment. We have never asked for an increase in all the years, and we are basically using that request as a request for reimbursement for expenses that we incur. And these are expenses that we incur partial reimbursement, because the rest is on us, for things such as the beautiful flower pots that are placed throughout the downtown Pawcatuck Business District to match those that we provide on the Westerly side in partnership with the town of Westerly, so that people who come to our two-state downtown community drive through and they see an attractive, unified, and welcoming look. We coordinate that program, and really there are no chambers of commerce anywhere that absorb costs for flowers on public sidewalks in the downtown community. It's something that we are happy to partner with the town and continue to do, just as we partner with the beautification committee. Those beautiful flower boxes that are on the bridge when you drive from Stonington into Westerly, all the materials were purchased by us years ago. And that committee continues to this day to do fundraising and work to annually put flowers there as part of this overall coordinated program. We also use some of the money to support the Starry Lights display. This is a large-scale public art display that's free, open to the public, accessible for people that are handicapped, and it is a bright, welcoming holiday attraction in the Pawcatuck section, which often gets overlooked by some of the things happening in town. It's a physically intense project to set up. There's annual repairs for lights, zip ties, the bulbs, everything, but it provides a 6-week economic driver to support those businesses in downtown Pawcatuck that don't share the same sort of foot traffic that perhaps Mystic might, or even the borough in the summer months. And there's also part of that 2,000 goes to some free events, such as the Pawcatuck River Duck Race, where we provide a bounce house and activities for kids. So families can come, they don't have to spend $1, they don't have to sponsor a duck, they can just come and participate in free activities. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and just would respectfully ask that you reconsider that line item if you could. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with comments for Human Services? Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. Yes, sir. Scrambling my eggs here. Yep. Okay, next up is Board of Education. So, any comments for Board of Education, which is funded at 47,957, 147. That's 47 million.
Thank you for job 41 Somerset Drive, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, Chairman, Board of Education. Chairman Sternberg and member of the Board of Finance, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. The Board of Education presented a proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget that was developed thoughtfully and collaboratively with our district leadership team. Our goal was to put forward a fiscally responsible plan that continues to provide a high-quality education experience for our students while addressing the growing and evolving needs of our community. As outlined, the proposed budget represented 5.8% increase. It is important to reiterate that 5.28% of that increase is driven entirely by contractual and operational obligations. And I heard you suggesting that the number you achieved was in between that 5.28 and the revised budget that we presented, which is right under that 5.8, which really doesn't allow us to add the position that we are trying to add to our schools that are in need. So these are not discretionary expenses. They include rising vendor costs, salary and contractual commitments, and the continued impact of state and federal mandates that the district is required to meet. The remaining portion of the budget was focused on targeted investment in staffing to support our students academically, behaviorally, and socially. These positions were not proposed lightly. They reflect real and increased needs within our schools. We understand that the Board of Finance has made a decision to reduce the proposed budget by $300,000. Given that the vast majority of our budget is tied to fixed costs, this reduction leaves us with no viable option other than to reduce our proposed position. That is not a step we take lightly. Reducing staff will have direct impact on student services, class sizes, and the level of support we are able to provide across our district. Our responsibility as a Board of Education is to be transparent about those impacts and to continue to advocate for the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students. We remain committed to working collaboratively with the Board of Finance and the community as we move forward. However, it is important to be clear that reduction of this nature comes with real consequences for our schools. And those positions that are the consequences, I just want to make sure that you're aware, the community is aware of those positions, that we need to add our math interventionist, classroom teacher for grade 1, library specialist, classroom teacher social studies, classroom teacher science, pre-K teacher, pre-K paraeducator, speech teacher, board certified behavioral analyst, English language teacher, and a registered behavioral technician. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Kevin Agnello, 8 Leicester Avenue in Pawcatuck. I've served on the Board of Education for a few years now. I'm in my 5th year, my 5th budget cycle. Tonight I'm speaking as a private citizen though, just to be abundantly clear. And I do want to address 2 matters this evening, one time sensitive and the other on the budget process itself. First, the portable classrooms at the Stonington Middle School on Field Street. I implore this board to commit to expediting the procurement process for these units. We can all agree that portable classrooms are not an ideal long-term solution for an academic environment. However, they are essential to address the current overcrowding affecting daily instruction at the middle school. And while we are aware that a permanent structural solution for the middle school remains years away, our students are being disadvantaged by space constraints now, and we cannot wait for a long-term plan to address today's localized crisis. We have a vendor, we have the timeline, and that timeline has the unit sited and operational in time for the start of the next school year, August 19th, I believe. And we cannot afford any delays. I'm asking the Board of Finance to be prepared to work with the Board of Education to stay on track, and this may take the form of special meetings to make sure we're on top of approvals and any other necessary discussion that needs to take place. Ensuring these portables are sited and operational as quickly as possible is a matter of basic functional necessity for the staff and students at the middle school. Next, I want to share some observations about our budget process that I think are important for this community to understand, that I've become aware of and have learned about in my time on the Board of Education. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and so if anyone disagrees, I genuinely welcome that conversation. Over my time on the Board of Education, I've observed practices that I believe conflict with what our charter and state law actually require. I'm not calling out any individuals, and I think this is more about institutional habits that have developed over time. And I want to be very straightforward about something. The Board of Finance does have the authority to appropriate less than the Board of Education requests, and I'm not disputing that. But that authority is not unlimited. Under the Board of Education versus Ellington in 1963, the Board of Finance can only reduce a Board of Education budget when it can demonstrate that the Board of Education's estimate exceeds what is reasonably necessary to carry out its educational obligations under state law. Now that's a meaningful legal standard, not a political one. So I want to put a direct question to the Board of Finance tonight. What is the justification for cutting $300,000 from the education budget? And I'll walk through your options, because I think they're more limited than some of the room may realize. Option 1, you may point to specific positions, programs, a staff member, a curriculum, service, health insurance, and argue that the Board of Education doesn't need them or has too much money allocated to them. I've seen this happen over the years. A Board of Finance member takes issue with certain line items, tallies the totals, and argues a budget reduction for that amount. But Connecticut law is clear that those are educational program decisions that belong to the Board of Education. The Board of Finance cannot earmark cuts to specific line items or substitute its judgment for the Board of Education's questions on educational programs. Option 2, general fiscal responsibility. Now I respect
You need to wrap it up.
But fiscal responsibility is not a legal justification under Connecticut law. That does not meet the legal standard of something being unreasonable. Neither does taking the $600,000 between the maintained services and what we request and cutting it in half. Option 3, protecting taxpayers. And I respect that value, it's one that I share. But I want to be precise about exactly what's at stake here. Cutting the Board of Education's budget by $300,000 compared to its full requests saves the average Stonington household approximately $2 per month. Now in recent years, and I'll wrap up in 30 seconds, I promise. In recent years, Stonington voters have passed the budget at referendum by wide margins. Not narrow victories, wide margins. Voters have been given the opportunity to reject tax increases and have declined to do so. I would be willing to bet that the overwhelming majority of speakers at this hearing tonight about to speak on the education budget will resoundingly disagree with the $3,000 cut suggestion made by the Board of Finance. So I'll return to the same question. If legal justifications don't hold up and if voters have repeatedly and clearly signaled their support for funding the schools and the savings on the average household only amount to $2 per month, what exactly is the cut for? I look forward to your deliberations. Thank you.
Okay. Before the next speaker speaks, I just want to clarify one point about the portable classrooms. And this was brought out in discussions with the Board of Education during the budget process. The portable classrooms were authorized to proceed on the 2nd of July. They have been delayed of the last summer, 2nd of July. The money was authorized from the bond. The delay from then until now has been due to Board of Education attorneys having issues with the contracts for the portable classrooms. It is not, has nothing to do with any actions taken by the Board of Finance.
Good evening. My name is Katie Fuller. I reside at 43 Old North Road, Masons Island. My statement this evening is on behalf of my 3-year-old Olivia and 6-year-old Grayson, who attend Deans Mill School, who can't quite yet advocate for themselves, and it's past their bedtime. So that's why I've made it a top priority to be here tonight for them. But as I'm here to speak about the impacts, I'm here to speak about something that impacts every single resident in our town, whether you have children in this school system or not. And that is the critical importance of properly funding our schools. Strong schools are not just an educational priority, they are an economic driver. They directly influence property values. They shape the reputation of our community, and they are the primary reason families choose where to live. When families are deciding where to put down roots, they first look at the quality of the school system. If we weaken that, we weaken our ability to attract new families and sustain the vibrant, growing community that we have here in Stonington. I urge you to seriously reconsider the proposed $300,000 cut to the education budget and avoid any further reductions. These decisions have real consequences. Last year's cuts were already devastating. We lost an elementary school librarian. It's heartbreaking to think that I pay almost $18,000 a year in taxes and my 6-year-old in kindergarten doesn't have a librarian. I question, is the board proud of that? As I have stated, every possible opportunity publicly, no matter what path our children select, reading will be a fundamental part of it. We cannot continue down this path without expecting long-term impacts. Declining school quality leads to declining demand for housing in Stonington, ultimately affects property values for all of us. Investing in education is not an expense, it's a safeguard for our future. I would challenge the board to reconsider their $300,000 cut. Thank you.
is Tim Whipple. I live at 25 Golden Road in Mystic. I have an 8th grader at the middle school, and I have a 4th grader at Dean's Mill. I'm also a 5th grade teacher at Dean's Mill School. I'm here tonight to speak about the importance of protecting our education budget, not just for our schools, but for our entire community. When we talk about budget cuts, it's important to understand what that really means. It means larger class sizes where students receive less individual attention. It means fewer support for children who are struggling, whether academically, socially, or emotionally. And it often means losing programs that keep students actually engaged, like the arts, STEM opportunities, and extracurricular activities. Our schools provide more than just academics. They offer essential services like special education, mental health support, and intervention programs. These are not extras. They are critical to student success. And when funding is reduced, those needs do not disappear. They become harder to meet. We also need to consider the long-term impact. Strong schools strengthen our community. They support property values, they attract families, and help build the workforce of tomorrow. Cutting education may solve a short-term problem, but it creates huge long-term consequences. And we cannot overlook the importance of our educators. Reductions in fundings lead to increased workloads, burnout, and staff turnover. Stability in our schools matters. Students thrive when they have consistent, supported teachers in their classroom. Finally, it's important to remember that every single cut has a face. It's a child who loses reading support. It's a student who no longer has access to a counselor. It's a classroom that just becomes way too hard to meet everybody's needs. This is not just about a budget. It's about our students, it's about our school, it's about our future as a town. I urge you to prioritize education, protect the resources of our students so that they can succeed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Cassidy. I live on Bradford Avenue in Newport, Rhode Island, and I am a 6th grade science teacher at the middle school. I'm here tonight to speak about the very real impact that additional cuts will have on our students, our classrooms, and our community. Our middle school lost 2 full-time content teachers due to last year's $750,000 budget reduction. That decision did not just impact staffing, it changed the entire learning environment. Class sizes increased, and teachers were asked to stretch themselves across multiple grade levels and content areas. We have a 6-day rotation for our schedule, and I am responsible for 4 daily sections of science, 6 sections of STING, where I provide language arts enrichment, and either a Friday advisory group or flex, for a total of 219 students, although I am only responsible for 188 report card grades. While we continue to do everything we can for our students, there is a limit to how thin we can be spread before it impacts the quality of our education. We have science teachers, again, on carts, moving from room to room without a consistent lab setup. Science is a hands-on, inquiry-based subject. It requires materials, setup, and space for students to explore and experiment. Teaching from a cart limits those opportunities and reduces what we can offer our students. We're also sharing classroom spaces, which creates additional challenges for planning, consistency, and student engagement. We were told the portable classrooms would help alleviate some of our spacing issues. Obviously, those portables have yet to arrive, so the conditions we were hoping to improve this year have continued, and in some cases worsened. I want to be clear, this is not about convenience for teachers. This is about access and opportunity for students. Larger class sizes mean less individual attention. Shared spaces and teaching from a cart mean fewer hands-on experiences. Fewer staff members mean fewer opportunities for support, enrichment, and connection. There's a saying, you can tell what a community values by how it allocates its resources. Budgets are more than numbers. They are a reflection of priorities. The potential cuts to the Board of Education budget send a concerning message that education is not valued at the level our students deserve. I ask you to consider the long-term impact of your decisions, not just on test scores or class sizes, but on the quality of education and the opportunities we provide. Please approve the Board of Education budget as presented. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Tamel. I live at 48 Urso Drive in Westerly, Rhode Island. I am an English language arts teacher at Stonington Middle School. I'm here tonight to speak not just for myself, but for my colleagues and our students, your children, who are directly impacted by the conditions we are being asked to accept under proposed cuts to the education budget. Our middle school classrooms are overcrowded. The National Center for Education Statistics reports that the average middle school class size in Connecticut is 19.5 students. In our building, we have classes of 25 students at a time. That may not sound drastic on paper, but in practice it means less individual attention, more distractions, and fewer opportunities for project-based meaningful learning. It means crowded movement in hallways, heightened stress, and lost intentional instructional time just trying to manage the space. We also lack adequate alternative settings, quiet spaces where students who need additional support can go to focus, regulate, take a quiz or assessment, or simply breathe. As an ELA teacher, I cannot emphasize enough how heartbreaking it is to teach literacy in a school without a proper library. Libraries are not luxuries. They are the foundation of curiosity, critical thinking, and growing a lifelong love of reading. Without one, we are denying all of our students a core part of their education. Some families may not have the time or transportation to get to a public library and rely on our school to supply books. These challenges extend beyond students. Many teachers do not even have their own classrooms. Some push carts from room to room, sometimes teaching in 3 different classrooms in a single day. This results in lost instructional time and fragmented learning experiences. Teachers working across multiple grade levels never share a common planning period with their colleagues, making collaboration nearly impossible. And that directly impacts the quality of instruction your children receive. On a personal note, I cannot remember the last time I was able to sit alone in my classroom to think, plan, or reflect. Because other teachers do not have access to their own spaces, our rooms are constantly shared. Planning meaningful lessons in a room full of other adults is difficult. It affects us and ultimately affects our students. Cutting the education budget will not solve problems for this community. It will deepen them. It will impact students and their families, diminish educational opportunities, and send a message that our students' needs are negotiable. Our students deserve better. Your children deserve better. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Thayer. I live at 610 Colonel Ledger Highway, Ledger, Connecticut. But I teach 6th and 7th grade STEM at Stonington Middle School. Tonight, I'm here because I'm worried our students will lose their opportunity for STEM to be a vibrant part of their educational experience at SBS. I came in as a core 7th grade teacher with enrichment responsibilities, but due to the cuts at the end of last year, my role expanded dramatically. I now teach 7th grade science, 6th and 7th grade STEM, 2 different enrichment classes, and an environmental education encore class. I'm doing the work of multiple teachers. I'm not alone. Every teacher in this building is stretched beyond capacity. Despite this, something remarkable happened. With the help and support of community members, my admin, fellow colleagues, my co-teacher, and the enthusiasm and dedication of my students, we designed a new STEM curriculum from scratch. Together, with my 8th grade STEM counterpart, we reached out to Mystic Aquarium, Project Oceanology, Electric Boat, UConn, URI, NESS, the Eastern Pequot Tribe, and the Alliance of the Mystic River Watershed. These organizations invested in our students, securing significant funding and partnerships that fill the gap left by the budget cuts. This year, I've taught close to 200 students across 6 classes at any given time. They design animal prosthetics. They combine coding and engineering to solve real environmental engineering problems. They soldered circuit boards, created a community game night. They even programmed robots. Because of this newfound curriculum, we have been actually invited to join the Native STEM Curriculum Council with the Eastern Pequots and the Mashantucket tribal members. This is why I want the board to understand. The STEM program, along with many other innovative courses, will not survive another round of cuts. Our classes are already at maximum capacity. Teachers are working beyond their limits. If we lose them, we don't lose jobs. We lose partnerships that we've been keeping this program alive. Electric Bolt won't invest in a program that's being dismantled. UConn won't partner with a school that can't commit to a STEM education. These organizations came to us because they saw a district willing to invest in students' futures. Eliminate that investment and the partnerships leave too. Cutting the budget will cause larger class sizes. Enrichment programs will disappear. The unique engineering experiences these programs provide our students will vanish. Students who could have become engineers, scientists, and innovators this community needs will graduate unprepared. In Stonington, a district that has always been looked at envy by other districts of how well we prepare our students for the real world, lose that reputation. This isn't about saving one teaching position. It's about whether Stonington stays committed to preparing our young citizens for their future, or whether we abandon them to larger class sizes and fewer opportunities. Our community has already given so much to support this program. Now it's time for the board to match that commitment. I'm asking you to protect our STEM education and the education of our community members. I'm asking you to protect the teachers who work tirelessly to educate this community. More importantly, I'm asking you to invest in Stonington students because they deserve it. And this community deserves a return on that investment. Stonington can do better to cut innovative programs that benefit our students. Thank you.
Ashley Toole, 113 Whitaker Drive. I have a son in the middle school and a daughter at Deans Mill Elementary. So I'd like to start by saying good evening and thank you all for the opportunity to speak tonight. I understand the responsibility that each of you have in finalizing the budget for the town, and I appreciate the work that has gone into the process. But I do want to be clear. When we talk about cuts to our Board of Education budget, we are talking about real impacts to the students, to the classrooms, to the faculty, and to the overall quality of education in Stonington. The Board of Education budget does make up a large chunk of the town's budget. And because of that, it continues to be the primary place where cuts are made. But from the discussions that have been had, I think it's pretty clear that much of the increase is tied to staffing, contractual obligations, mandated services. And at the same time, the town in the past has continued to allocate funds to outside organizations that are not core to the town's primary responsibilities. Choices like that send a message about the priorities in the town. Tonight we heard from several libraries who came up here and asked for increase in funding. Yet we don't have a library in our middle school. We don't have a librarian in our elementary schools. The cuts that have been made have forced this upon our district. It's our children, our elementary school children, that don't have a librarian, the age group that it really matters the most to. And I know that you guys don't have the choice in where the cuts are made, but the reality is your cuts have consequences. And it goes back to the Board of Education, who has to find a place to cut the money from. That's the reality of it. So when you guys cut something, they have to find that job that's going to get cut, that service that's going to be taken away from our children. They have their contractual obligations. Those are not movable for them, so we have to cut something. I'd also like to second Kevin's comments regarding the portables at the middle school. I understand that the process has been drawn out past what anybody thought. There was legal issues, now there's been some building issues, but the fact of the matter is, as we finally are able to get them here, we're going to be coming, the Board of Education will have to go in the Board of Finance to just get the approvals for each step for the finances. And I think they're just asking to make sure that we do that as quickly as possible. It takes a special meeting that gets done, because this has been delayed long enough
through no fault of the Board of Finance, but I think the request is just to say, can you guys commit to making sure that you are available so we can not have any more hiccups in the process for the students? Our kids are still having boards up against them and, you know, a big classroom that's meant to be the library. We're all trying to get there to the best we can, but it's just not working right now. I'm just asking that as you finalize this budget tonight, that you recognize that further cuts to our education are not cuts to numbers, but they're cuts to our students. And if we value our schools, then that needs to be reflected in the decision tonight. Thank you.
Well, I just want to state that there's nobody in this room who wants to see those portals in place more than I do. I've been frustrated by the delays as much as anybody else. But it is what it is, and we can't change what's happened.
Okay, thank you for allowing a public comment. My name is Jason Hine. I'm at 23 Denison Avenue. Just wanted to speak as a parent and then as a taxpayer. So first, as a parent, my son graduated Stonington High School last year. I just want you to know, especially as you go through your deliberations, that the teachers here at the Stonington High School do an unbelievable job. My son was not a good student when he was younger, but he got better and better. While he was here, he was a football player on the football team, and he learned community and hard work from the teachers and staff here at the high school. He is now a University of Connecticut student, and he owns his own business. My other son, my younger son, is a sophomore, currently at Stonington High School. And I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm not. I'm trying to make a point. He's a 4.1 student right now. He's got a very high grade average, and he is on a crew, and he also is in theater. He loves school. It's so much more, and he adores his teachers. He comes home all the time and talks about them. They mean a lot to him. He's currently thinking about scholarships, senior project, and colleges, and he's 15. It says something. So as a parent, the thought of cutting staff, librarians, teachers is heartbreaking to me. Now I just want to say, as a taxpayer, not as a parent, but as a taxpayer, I understand that perhaps in deliberations you might be concerned that raising taxes is a scary thing, but I see this as an investment, particularly if it's $2 a month. As a taxpayer, I am happy to pay $2 a month for the future of all the Stonington kids. So thank you very much. I hope you think about that.
Short person alert. Cindy Nagu, Cronin Avenue. I ask that whatever's been taken from the Board of Education be restored. It scares me to hear a couple of those positions, knowing that they are from special education. My children are no longer in school. My boys graduated in, I think it was 18 from here. My daughter graduated in 22 from Grasso. When you start cutting positions that are within the department, cutting money that's going to affect positions within special education, you are hitting our neediest children. You're going to see, with special education, you see kids go to one of two ways. If they have the supports that they need, if we have the positions filled to support them, to teach them, to help them grow, then they are going to flourish. My daughter is an example of that. We, as some of these people can tell you, used to have to pull her out from under her desk at West Vine, literally more days than not. When she graduated from Grasso, thanks to special ed in this district, and then going to a tech school, she graduated number 16 in her class as a member of the National Honor Society, a two-sport varsity athlete. She is currently employed by Electric Boat on Pequot Avenue and just got like her third or fourth raise with her performance evaluation. You cut the positions, these kids don't get the support that they need. These are the children we're putting out on the street. These are the children who are not going to be able to function. We no longer have institutions that we can stash them in, for better wording, and they're the ones that are going to end up in our prison system. How much more in our taxes are we going to pay to then house them when $2 a month, which is less than a cup of coffee at Dunkin', which we all hit probably at least once a week for something, could have prevented that. Please restore the money.
Cindy, the Board of Ed's maintain current services number included adding FTEs for special ed. So the number that the Board of Finance arrived at does not result in any cuts to any special ed students, and it includes additional money for additional FTEs for other needs. It doesn't include, may not include enough money for everything the Board of Ed requested in the way of additional staff. But as presented to us, the numbers they gave us, their maintain current services number had additions to the special ed staff. So I don't know where that point of confusion comes from, but I just wanted you to understand that.
Hello, Bruce Yarno, 19 Clark Street in Westerly. Taught in this district for over 30 years. Seen a lot of changes over the years. What I talked to you about very briefly is that the education we're providing for our students has slowly gone down. The opportunities available to them has slowly decreased over the years. Basically, I think it's like a death by 1,000 cuts. And I've been in this, I used to live in this town, moved to Westerly, didn't want to deal with the House Bill in 1914 anymore. And basically, Stonington can do better. You all know that. Everyone at that table knows that Stonington can do better. We can do better than what we're doing right now. And unfortunately, we do need some of the funds we requested in order to do that job. So please, as you go through your deliberations, please remember, think yourself, we can do better. This town has a lot of potential, and I'd like to see it rise to that potential. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Del Lawrence. I live at 40 Shawangasi in Stonington, and I didn't hear anybody mention this, and so I needed to speak out about the $300,000 in cuts. It's not just cutting from the schools in which our middle schools direly need better funding because they are overcrowded. It is more because of the at least 2.4% inflation and now higher gas prices. So even if the funding would remain the same, the amount that you can buy with that money is less. And so even no money increasing, even not increasing the budget is really a cut. So please do not cut, and if anything, increase the budget by 300. As a taxpayer whose children my children are graduating soon, will not be, it's unacceptable to me, knowing how the middle school is, for kids to be going there with the services that they are. Dean's Mill is great, Westvine is great, and the high school is excellent, but we are not serving our middle schoolers properly. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the chance to talk. My name is Catherine Lutz. I live on Orchard Street in Stonington. And I just wanted to see if I could get the budget explained to me in terms of how we can cut the education budget but increase the police budget on the basis of a projected increase in population. If that is true for the police, it's true for education. And instead, we're talking about cuts for education, an increase for the police. I don't get it.
Any other comments on the school budget? Any other comments on the school budget? Any other comments on the school budget? Okay, hearing none. Okay, so the last item on the agenda for public comment is the capital improvements budget. Are there any comments on the capital improvements budget? Any comment on the capital improvements budget? Any comment on the capital improvements budget? Oh, looks like somebody, nope. Okay, I guess that we have reached the conclusion of the public hearing on the budget. So we're going to take a recess for about 10 minutes and then reconvene for deliberations. And for the record, it is now 8:15. So let me just, how do I want to start here? My intention is to allow every member of the Board of Finance to say what they think, and then once everybody's had a chance to speak, see what, hopefully we have a consensus of opinion about the budget. So, oh. Oh, I'm waiting for the, okay. Where are my notes? All right, so I'll start with David. I know you want to propose some additional reductions and speak about why. So let's start. We'll start there, and then we'll work our way along the table.
Okay, thank you.
To make sure your mic is on and you're speaking in.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. This is a painful job in many respects, being on the Board of Finance. There is much need in our town, as there is in every community. Trying to balance this need with what taxpayers can afford is not easy. Unfortunately, in my opinion, we have to reduce the requested mill rate. I am proposing an increase of 0.82, which would bring the mill rate to 19.0. This translates into a 4.51 increase in the 26-27 budget. This is still higher than I would like. But I'm trying to create a balance between what taxpayers can afford and what we need to make sure that the town has the resources to operate efficiently. A mill rate of 19.0 would require a 1.212508 reduction in the proposed $79,694,371 current request. I have identified several areas to reduce this number. I look forward to discussing with my colleagues on the board their thoughts. Did you want me to mention what the cuts?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, David, go ahead.
Okay. I'm requesting a $700,000 reduction in the Board of Ed. Additional to the $300,000. Outside agencies, Stonington Cemetery, $7,500. Chorus of Westerly, $10,000. Como, $10,000. Ocean Community, $2,000. Denison Pequot Seapost, $8,000.
David, can you slow down?
Oh,
I want to. Okay, after the BOE, start after the BOE. I got that number.
where do you want me to go?
The number? Your outside agencies.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
same.
I'm sorry. Stonington Cemetery, 7,500. Chorus of Wesley, 10,000. Como, 10,000. Ocean Community, 2,000. Denison Pequot Seapost, 8,000. Open Space, 75,000.
What was the number for Dennison again?
8,000. And Project Neighborhood Center, 18,000. Open space, 75,000. Sidewalks, 25,000. Signs and line stripping, 25,000. Fourth District Hall drainage, 75,000. Audio visual, page 179, 30,000. SHS new tractor, 55,238.
Say that again?
The SHS new tractor, 55,238. Now, my math is correct. This would give us a 1,165,738. We could reduce the budget by. And that's still about $46,000 short of the the 1.212 decrease. So it'd still be a little short. That gets it pretty close. And so, 19 mill rate times the grand list comes up to 78,481,863. This is how I got to the 1.212508. Subtract that from the 79,694,371, which is the proposed current amount that would be raised by taxes. And that comes up to the 1.212508. That would be with a mill increase of 0.82, which is still a 4.5 increase in the budget. And just one other thing I'd like to say. People keep saying, well, we're cutting the budget. No, we're reducing the budget. The budget's not being cut for Board of Ed. We're reducing it. You're still getting an increase.
David,
Yes.
I believe you were reducing the request, but we are increasing the budget everywhere, including the school budget, over last year's budget.
I thought that's what I said.
Well, it was a little, I heard it a
We're
little bit
reducing the
confusing.
request by the Board of Ed, right?
Correct.
Okay, I yield.
Okay, Chris.
Tough act to follow. So I would like to start by saying that I do not support any of David's cuts. And honestly, I am pretty happy with the compromise we came to at deliberations previously, except for the cut to the education budget, the $300,000. So my request would be to restore the number for Board of Education to the full ask. And honestly, looking at the materials given to us by Alicia and the comment we heard tonight, I think that the increase is warranted based, primarily on the enhancements to the library programs and early education, which I think are essential in this day and age. I think there are many pressures, especially coming from technology, things like AI technologies, that are really going to make this job harder for our teachers to impart skills on our students and make them lifelong readers and critical thinkers. So that's my primary motivation for restoring that funding. And that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Chris. Danielle?
Yeah, first I just wanted to say
thank you. I think this is a healthy form of democracy we're seeing in Stonington, and I appreciate everybody who came out. I know everyone is so busy, and you came out and you shared your views passionately, but also with respect for everyone in the room. And I think similarly, while I disagree with a lot of what David says, I really do appreciate your honesty and your conviction in sharing it. And I know you're representing a group of people in town who share those views, and it takes some courage to speak up and share different opinions than those that might be sitting here, so thank you. I think just to address, the bigger issue in the room really quickly, we briefly talked about this, but I just feel like it needs to be said more, and I really appreciate, especially people who came out to advocate for the school so passionately, to understand that in Stonington, I do feel like we value our schools, and we have amazing schools, and thank you to everyone who's part of them. The problem, in my view, is not with the town of Stonington, or really most towns or cities across Connecticut. The problem is our state, and we need our voices to be unified, that it's not okay. The state needs to fund education. We rank in the lowest of, I think we're the 6th lowest state in the country for state funding to education. Yet, we have some of the highest per pupil costs, because I do believe, like Stonington, other towns and cities in Connecticut do value education. But what we're left with is people who I think David's trying to advocate for, who are, whether they're living on a fixed income or the difference of $1,000 extra a year, which is what we're pretty much looking at, can make or break them. So as we're talking about affordability, and I care a lot about housing issues, they're all connected, and we have to think about that balance. So I guess one thing is, I think we all need to collectively raise our voices to the state and say this isn't acceptable, and it's not just an ECS formula fix, it's an entire how we fund schools based on property taxes pretty much solely, because that's where this tension's coming. With that said, this is the reality we're living in right now, and it is challenging. And I'd say on the town side, I'll pull this up because I want to get it right, for people who weren't there, we did make cuts everywhere. So on the town side, which is about a little under $32 million, we reduced their ask by 2.5%. The school, which is about $48 million, we reduced it by 0.75. So again, I just want to say that to show, everyone's kind of trying to share in the cuts that need to happen to try and get the tax rate to a place where it can be, okay for people on a 1-year increase. So again, just to reiterate, because I know someone brought this up, that looks at, police did take a cut, public works took a cut, all the different departments kind of work together on the town side to come up with 2.5% cut of a budget that's already $15 million less. I mean, they felt some pain, and that those weren't fluffy asks, they were really needed. And in addition to that, they cut almost 50% of their SIP request. And some of these things I'm not comfortable with. I don't think any of us are. We are putting things down the road, but people can't stomach a huge tax increase in 1 year. So then you look at the school, on the SIP side, we cut just a little over 4% in the SIP. So pretty much all the SIP asks, except for 88,000 got funded. And again, the 300,000 was 0.75. I will reiterate though, what I asked during the other meeting was, I think there are tremendous needs, and last year's cut to the Board of Ed was, in my opinion, a bit too steep. So I'd rather than the 0.75 to see it about a 0.5, which I think was 189,000. So I'd like to go back to considering that. And then the only other thing, because I don't think Kevin is still here, but I appreciate the way he phrased that, and it got me thinking, but I do just want to share, based on the current budget that we've put in, we're looking at, if that same rate kept going for 5 years, the average homeowner is going to spend about $5,000 more during that period. So that's not nothing, and I do think that's why the Board of Finance is here, is to think about that balance. So while it might sound small, like $30 extra a month is the average increase we're looking at right now, but you keep going at that rate, it's about $5,000 extra over that 5-year period. So I mean, that's substantial to a lot of people in this town. So I think we just have to find the right balance here. So basically my only request is to make it, again, I would have liked to get it under $1 million. I just don't see that being possible right now. So I would actually like to go back to the Board of Ed reduction from the, I don't have the exact number, but it was like 189,000 reduction.
So my quick arithmetic is you're asking us to plus things up by $111,000.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to the right end of the table, Mike.
I too and continue to support the budget that we proposed in deliberations, with the exception of the Board of Education. The $300,000 was made on a preliminary basis with the hopes that we could revisit that and try to mitigate the cut from the Board of Education proposed budget. So I would also like to do that.
So how much do you want to plus it up by?
Yeah, look, I would love to see it at adopting the Board of Education budget, but I also understand that is, that's where I would like to see us start. I would like to see us start by finding some other funds that we could put back the full Board of Education budget as. Yeah.
Okay, Gene?
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Good. I'd like to thank everyone who came here tonight and expressed their views, and particularly the passion shown by those who advocate for public education. I have to say I wouldn't be sitting here tonight if it wasn't for the entirely public education that I received. So I'm all in for that. However, I'm disappointed that the discussion focused on cuts, which I can understand, but the budget that we agreed to includes a $2.3 million increase. And that's in the setting of a secular decline in enrollment, for which there are many reasons. And the fact that, and these are very gross numbers, is that if you divide the budget by the number of students, you get something in the neighborhood of $30,000 per student, which is, just a kind of a hodgepodge of all of the inputs, but nevertheless, $30,000 is a good number. The average for Connecticut is less than that. So I will support the budget that we arrived at, and I would suggest that everyone who is interested in looking at the Board of Ed and the way that it spends the budget that it's given, look to see how you can get best value out of the money that's been appropriated. Just for your information, the way the Board of Education arrives at budgets from year to year is that they take the previous budget as the baseline and then plus up from that. There is a certain amount of logic to it, but again, in the setting of declining enrollment, it might be time to look at some of the fundamentals. Thank you.
So just to be clear, you want to stay put at where we are? Is that, Gene? You want to stay put?
I'm staying put.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming. Like we take our time, you folks have all taken your time. I've lived in town for now it's over 40 years and put 4 kids through public schools, K through 12. I was very involved, president of Stone Education Fund for over 18 years. I know what an extra $200 can do for a good teacher. I know what an extra $1,000 can do for a good teacher. I helped raise money to grant $500,000 back to our teachers over those 18 some odd years. So I really do appreciate that. And that's why it was so difficult for us to come to these decisions. We went through, as Danielle said, we went through every department and cut and cut and cut. I focused on education for more than half the time I've lived in this town and continue support. But I also support the other departments too. I need roads that don't have holes in them. I need to know that if I need the police, they're gonna be there. We were given a tour of the police department by the chief, and it's amazing the resources that he's found that cost the town nothing, the hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment and apparatus that we have because of going and looking for money someplace else. Just like the middle school teacher who was here, or is he still here? Talked about your STEM programs and building your STEM programs, looking to private corporations, outside agencies to try to help you with that. And that's what we have to do. I struggle on the Board of Ed side with special education. I was blessed. I never had to use those services, but I know people who have. I know your director for years and years and years, back when she was a teacher and moved her way through the system. And I have a great deal of respect for what she has to do and how she has to figure out, and how one child with special needs who we're responsible for, we have to take care of, can cover the budget of 3, 4, 5, 6 kids who don't. And how do you decide? How do you take that person and decide? So we know that the needs are critical. When we came to the education budget, there's only so much control we have over that, which is really none other than the bottom line. But I do want to say, I mean, this is my first year on the finance board, and I looked at past boards and past presentations. I talked to previous or current Board of Ed members who are here, and I said, have we ever seen this kind of detail from the Board of Ed before? And the feedback I got was no. So I give a lot of credit to the education side and the staff, the admin, and what they did to give us detail. The acting superintendent, the Board of Ed, and it was great. And that's where we looked at their numbers and we followed them, and we come to a conclusion. I'm with Gene. I believe we should stay right where we are. We looked at their original increase was, as he said, 5.2, but then we found some points of conversation, and it was adjusted. And from what the Board of Ed asks for, that they stipulated was mandated or to maintain services, which meant add staff, add resources, not to maintain last year's spending, but to maintain increased spending that would maintain services that are mandated. And we met that. And then, as Bill said earlier, we split the difference. So not only did we meet the mandated expenses and costs as presented to us, all we can do is take the numbers that were shown. Not only we did that, but we added an additional $300,000. That $300,000 can be spent any way the Board of Ed want. I mean, we had people complaining about librarians and all that. We have no control over that. Most of the comments that we got tonight really should be directed at the Board of Education and how they spend their money. We have no control over that whatsoever. So this board, and we had ranges from cutting $1 million to keeping it the same. So at $300,000, using an average cost of an educator in the $90,000 range, there's 3 teachers. There's 4 more teachers, paras, however they want to spend it. We don't have any control over that. That's funding 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 more special ed students. So there's funding there. So we didn't cut, we added, we gave the Board of Ed what they asked for to maintain services, and we gave a little bit more. And that's a lot more than an awful lot of people who are calling me saying that we should cut. But I'm willing to look a little closer. It's my first year. Look closer at this through the year and see if there's any way we can find efficiencies, not reduce staff, not reduce services, not reduce classes, but maybe we can find efficiencies somehow. The town is doing that using sharing IT admin and services. Maybe there's other ways that we can share services to get some efficiencies, economies of scale, reduce costs, so that we can maintain or even increase education budget even more, along with other things too. All right, thank you.
Sure, Dave. Go ahead. Dave.
This is a $47,957,147 budget. It's 53.31% of the budget. You're telling me that you can't take $1 million out of that budget? It's minuscule. And when you're saying we're cutting libraries, I'm not cutting libraries in schools. That's up to the school department, how they want to spend the money. Like Bill was saying, you know, some people keep saying, well, you're getting rid of the libraries. You're not allowing, no, that we can't dictate to the Board of Ed how they want to spend that money, as Bill said. So I'm here, I guess I'm fighting for the average taxpayer in Stonington. A lot of people, it makes no difference to them how much the mill rate goes up. It does to me, and it does to a lot of other people in my situation, which is not the greatest financially. So I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in some of the people on the board for not being willing to take a look at this and say, what can we do to make this easier for the average taxpayer in town of Stonington? And I'm disappointed. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thanks, David. Anybody else want to make any other comments? Okay. Sure, Gene, go ahead.
The last speaker made a point of the way we treated the request for the police department. I just want to put in my 5 cents that for much of the year, we're a beautiful, sleepy New England town of 18,000 people, but over the summer, we're inundated with visitors, with tourists, and we're living in difficult times. There are plenty of people who hate this country. There are plenty of people who would like to wreak some havoc. And so the police needs to be prepared for the possible maximum demands rather than, what it's like for much of the year. So for my part, I was glad to meet the chief's request to the greatest extent that I thought would be responsible as a citizen and a taxpayer.
Sorry, I shouldn't have given you my microphone back.
We know that.
I want to give kudos to another person I mentioned Chief Del Grosso, but Steve Carroll, the school department's facilities manager. He's finding ways to save money. For just one example, they requesting appropriation for a couple of vans, which would have been not too expensive, between 40 and 45 and 55,000 each. Maybe it was over 50,000 each. Instead, he looked at the need, and he looked at and those vans, and we believe they were necessary for what was required, because he's got his maintenance people skilled enough to run around the schools and make repairs. Yet he found an alternative. There's a lull in the market, and he's buying 2 EVs, 2 electric vehicles that they can use, which is it's a perfect use for around town for nearly half the price. And we appreciate that. I mean, there's people working behind the scenes, and I wish everyone could have been available to see the presentation that they gave, the give and take that Public Works, Police, Board of Ed, Leanne Human Services. It was really a positive experience, and I don't want my taxes to go up. My taxes have doubled over the last year. I haven't made any more money. Over the last 5 years, I haven't made any more money. I can feel everybody's pain. But at the same time, too, looking at the extenuating expenses we have, more capital improvements, new contracts that were signed that we don't have a way of changing, of course, unless we reduce staff. And just like, by the way, just like the Board of Ed is looking for staff, our town is not overstaffed. I just think we're in the right place. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I better chime in now. I'm also in the Stay Where We Are camp. And again, as Paul explained, we're obligated, the Board of Finance is obligated to fund, meet at least the minimum education needs, which the Board of Education defined for us as maintain current services. And that maintain current services number confused us because it actually included adding FTEs, and during the budget meetings, they helped us understand what they mean by maintain current services, because it was counterintuitive to me. But the bottom line is the maintain current services number added a number of FTEs in the, it incorporated several changes. One was contract increases. There were some decreases on the energy usage side, but it also added positions for special services. But we went beyond that number. We added an additional $300,000, which is essentially 3 FTEs. The other $300,000 additional that the Board of Ed requested, there's a number of different ways to look at it. You can look at it as additional FTEs, but you can also look at it, and this is really down in the weeds. There's a line in the budget, both on the town side and the Board of Ed side, that deals with benefits. And the town self-insures, which means we have to set aside a certain amount of money in a reserve fund. It's about it's somewhere around $9 million. It's about 10% of the budget. Today I went back and looked at, because the town actually had an initial proposal but reduced its reserve fund request by, I think, $500,000. Board of Education reserve fund request is about $500,000 above last year. If you go back 2 years, which is where we have actuals, their estimate turned out to be, I think, $500,000 over their actuals. The year before that, it was the opposite. Their budget request turned out to be $500,000 under the actuals. But the point is, there is a margin in there. And again, once we approve the budget, what the Board of Education does at the line item level is up to them. But looking at that, I think the $300,000 gap between what their improvement number was and what the Board of Finance put forward, I do not see that it's going to have any negative impact on the Board of Education. It certainly shouldn't result in any staff reductions, because we're adding positions. And I'm comfortable where we are. I understand why David wants to, I understand David's concerns completely, but I don't think they're realistic, at least not from my perspective. And I understand why Chris would like to, just give the Board of Education what they're asking for, and I understand, where Mike is. Danielle's somewhere in between. She wants to add 100,000. Mike seemed to be somewhat negotiable, but anyway, right now we have 3 people who are stay where we are, and then we've got other folks. So we need to get to 4 votes.
I guess before we go there, my first question would be for Chris and Mike. I mean, you guys are this is the same thing we did last time, but you're both at flat funding or giving the funding fully. There's not the votes to go there, so would you guys meet me at the 111, and then we have 3 and 3, and then we can negotiate from there. If not, then I mean, I think there's no point in trying this.
How about if we try to reduce it to some degree, at least? I mean, this, maybe I knew my numbers, none of you would go along with, because you're comfortable with the way everything was presented to us. What if we had a compromise? What if we say, what's the mill rate now? What's the
It's like a
proposed mill rate?
1.11 increase.
What if we cut it by a quarter of a mil? Would you be willing to at least think about that? Well, a quarter of a mil is like, what? $1 million? Something like that? Or how about an eighth of a mil? Do you think you might be able to find an eighth of a mil reduction in this budget?
I think just speaking for myself.
No, I mean, if you can't,
Yep.
you think that this has to be left the way it is? Nothing, there's no way, you have no leverage. Is anybody inclined to at least make somewhat of a reduction?
Danielle, I'd be interested in meeting you at 4 minutes.
Same here, Daniel.
And then David, just to address what you were saying, I mean, I completely hear what you're saying. I think what's so hard and frustrating for everyone in the room, no matter what side you're on, is, I mean, as you know, like all these things are worthwhile and needed, so it's so hard. And I know, I mean, we spent hours the past couple of weeks trying to get it down to where it is now, because it was even higher. So I just have we all, I think, went through it with a fine tooth comb from our perspectives. Like I can't see where we could even find a few $100,000. One thing, I don't even want to say it, but I'll say it, because I know if an opportunity presents itself, I'm sure our new esteemed first selectman would quickly come to the Board of Finance and ask for a special appropriation, is maybe to help offset the school increase, we do zero out the open space. It breaks my heart to say it, but that $75,000 that could go towards education potentially instead of, again, it's not the cuts that you want, but something like that. Or, we could talk about flat funding, outside agencies. I wouldn't want to see them fully cut. But if and I just think they do so much with so little, and they're like a addition to our human services department, and they're the smallest part of our budget. So you don't want to go there. Just going through the things you suggested, I don't think we can cut anything more from signs and lines or sidewalks. The 4th District drainage project has been on hold forever, and we keep pushing that off.
None of those items that I mentioned, you don't think we could cut any
Don't,
small cuts?
not without, again, we can keep doing what we've done, and I was part of that, doing that for 6 years and well before it. But we're pushing things off down the road, and then costs are increasing, and I'm just afraid 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be in an even worse situation than we are now.
Right, but the SIP budget this year is very high compared to last year. I mean, it's over $2 million, I believe.
David, the SIP budget was less last year because we diverted a lot of those projects to the bond. So last year's not a good comparison if you want to use a comparison.
No, I'm not saying that, Chris. I'm just saying this year, we're spending over $2 million in the SIP budget. That's a lot of money. Regardless of last year, I know what we did last year. I'm just trying to find a way that maybe we could bring this down just a little bit. At this particular time, a 6.11% increase. That's a lot.
No, it is. I mean, you're right. It's a lot.
We're funding a lot of things, like Chris said. We did this with Buy My Ship, but this year too, a lot of things that wore out that we've been putting off to try to keep the mill rate low. And I'm proud to say that we have one of the lowest mill rates in the town, in the surrounding area. I'm proud of that. We have a AAA bond rating. That's great. But I can't see how we can keep continually just adding on to the previous year at this rate. And I just throw it out there, see if you might be willing to make even what would you call it? Throw us a bone.
David,
I'm all done.
if you only,
that's good.
Well, I just want to, if you only look at the increase compared to last year, I don't think you're seeing the full picture, because if you go back over the past 5 or 6 years, there were 2 budget years, well, there was one budget year where the mill rate didn't change at all.
It's COVID.
And that there was a very large surplus in fund balance. A year or 2 earlier, the mill rate actually went down by a tiny fraction. And there was another year where the budget was almost flat. So if you average, I know it's a bigger increase than we've seen, but if you average over a period of 5 or 6 years, I mean, the way I'm sort of looking at it is we're catching up with some things that we deferred.
I agree.
Just to build on David's question though, I mean, for other board members, I mean, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 can add up. So I mean, did anyone else have a reduction that, again, not saying it's not needed, but could be put off till next year when we aren't dealing with, 5 contract increases all coming in and everything else that's causing some of this to build up? So I mean, did anyone else see anything else, even if it was small, to what David said, that we could look at putting off?
I'd be willing to have a conversation about open space.
I'm gonna cry up here, but okay. Did you guys see anything, either open space or other things that you'd be willing to look at?
Yeah, I would take off open space also.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Open space, I would cut.
The headline in the paper tomorrow, Stonington hates the environment.
My cut's contingent on adding that to BOE.
Yeah, same.
Same here.
He wants to move 75,000 from open space to education.
75,000 open space. I mean, that's not going to hurt anybody.
I wouldn't move it to education. I don't think,
No,
what we did is we listened to the Board of Ed presentation. They gave us the numbers. We're giving them an extra $300,000 to pay for their extra 3 teachers, their whatever. I don't get it. I don't get why they,
I'm sorry, I
we,
don't understand.
I'm with you, David, on
Paul wants to
reducing it,
cut
but I
the
wouldn't give it to the education
75,000
budget.
and leave everything else the same. Chris and I would like to cut the 75,000 from open space in exchange for giving some money back towards the education side. And then Jean and Mike haven't weighed in.
That's not, you're not reducing the budget by doing that.
So we're increasing it
Again,
by less.
$300,000 out of a $47+ million budget. I just don't get it.
Danielle, I'd be willing to do that and put it towards the Board of Education.
Jean,
No,
are
I'm
you there
not
on your
sure.
side?
Okay, there was something I was gonna leave till later, but we do need to do, there's some housekeeping that we need to do that will identify some additional money that can be used for something. If I can find my spreadsheet I have. Let's see. Okay, so on the CIP, buried in the CIP budget are a number of older appropriations that have never actually been used. And if you go read the fine print in the charter, if 36 months pass without an expenditure or being made or the funds being encumbered, they technically are considered abandoned, which means to spend that money, we would have to reappropriate it, and effectively, the money actually goes back into fund balance, we would make a reappropriation, that would then be offset by the money that just went back into fund balance, so it kind of rolls over. One of those is artificial turf replacement, which right now there's a $750,000 line in CIP to We're funding about 700, the plan is 750K a year, we did 750K last year. We'll do the same this year, and then next year then this is to rebuild the track, which is at the end of its useful life, and replace the artificial turf. When Paul and I did the Fields project, we got the Board of Finance to agree to set money aside every year. We didn't understand this these appropriations with time. But there's $168,000 sitting in CIP that to spend it on turf, we would have to go through this reappropriation step. And I was going to suggest that at some point that we use that as an offset to effectively offset the 750K turf replacement thing. But we could use that money to offset something else. There's also $50,000 that was set aside for the Climate Change Task Force that was never used. There are some other appropriations in here that I haven't had a chance to dig into that I don't want to get into.
Could I ask 2 quick questions, Bill?
Yep.
So one, when you're talking about the turf 168, like, are you saying that we're offset that 168 by what is already being asked for this year because it wasn't included in the calculation?
Well, there's different ways to think about it. If we stay where we're at right now, we would roll that money over. And that actually it involves Jim moving it, doing some accounting moves. And then that would add 168 back into excess fund balance. And so when we get to the point where we decide to, how much fund balance we are going to use, we're currently using 2 million, we would then use 2,168,000. Okay?
So just general.
Right, but if you wanted to plus something else up somewhere, you could you could offset some of that plus up.
So no matter how we
168.
look at it, it's basically, we found 168,000 that could be used to just offset in general.
Yes, and actually another 50K for the Climate Change Task Force, but I believe Chris would like to preserve that for the Climate Change Task Force.
I certainly would.
Yeah, okay.
So Bill, I like that idea. I would rather have reductions, but if we can, anything we can do to help the taxpayer, I'm all for that. So do you think there might be any other items in that account, kind of a slush fund?
Well, it's not a slush fund. It's expired money that's just never been shuffled around accounting-wise. But the money is still there. It legally can't be spent on what it was originally appropriated for unless we reappropriate it.
Anything else in there?
Yeah, but I didn't have a lot of time to look at this, and you need to have some conversations with department heads about some of it before we do anything.
Before we decide?
I don't want to blindside them, because some of the stuff is pretty old. But anyway, let's just work with the 168 and the 50. So that gives us 200 and some thousand dollars worth of wiggle room here.
Okay. I like that.
So the 160, just not to put Steve or Alicia on the spot, but we're confirming that wasn't included in your calculation of what was needed? Keep going. Steve, you're like...
No, I believe in the summation it was 750, 750, and 850 were the that was not included in the calculation for the field. Right now, our current quote is around 2.2 million for the field and track, and you're funded at 2.250.
You don't think we should?
No, I think yes.
You think we should postpone and have another meeting to go through maybe
Well,
some of these?
Okay.
No, I think, I mean, just looking quickly at this, I mean, I think most of these things are definitely needed. I mean, these are things that.
Right, we gotta.
Yeah, they're not like defunct projects.
Okay.
One other thing though, I don't wanna put the chief on the spot, but I will. I think and Jim, you could also probably answer this, I think there might be some funding left over from a previous SIP account for the Axon, is it body cameras? Can we use any of that, or is it needed for, is it already encumbered?
Danielle, there is money left over, but that list I have here is money that's never had an expenditure made against it. The body cameras are there's expenditures made every few years against that pot. So it technically hasn't timed out. Once you make an expenditure from an appropriation in CIP, it lives until it's done.
I guess it hasn't timed out, but can we have any of it? I mean, do you want to speak to that?
I'll defer actually to Jim, who said anything out of that's been appropriate. I know we made adjustments to the contract and that there was funds that were left over for that. However, with our purchasing all the mandatory purchases of vests, I know that we'll be over for that and we'll be looking for funds to be able to line and transfer to pay for those vests and have to buy those every 5 years. I would defer to Jim on how much would be available if there would be on that. If there's money available in that and it doesn't exceed that contract, then obviously we would have no objection to it being something else. As long as we, by mandate, by law, we have to have our cameras, and by mandate, by law, we have to have our vests. So as long as we can fund them, it's fundable, we have no objection.
Well, I think there's already a plan in place to fund the vests. I don't think you need the $82,000 from.
Yeah, so the vests right now, from what we have, the contract is included right now, from what we have in SIP for that is over. However, we always wait to find out if we get we put in for reimbursement on that in a grant, and we've always gotten it, but it's not guaranteed. So we have to make sure we have funds to pay for those vests if we do not receive that grant funding, and that's usually where that.
Well, assuming we don't get the grant, how much are we short then?
$12,000 to $15,000.
But there's $82,000 sitting in the body camera account, so that leaves $70,000 or so.
As long as that covers the contract, which I believe it does, then yes, then those funds, then we have no objection to that.
Covers what contract?
The Axon, current Axon contract.
That money is for a prior year. It doesn't. You appropriated new money for the new contract.
Then we have no objection. As long as it's
Appreciate the teamwork.
Okay. Let me address David's question about whether we should take a breather and regroup. We're currently scheduled to have a meeting on Wednesday, a regular meeting. We haven't placed posted the agenda yet because we weren't sure we would be meeting here, and because we didn't get through deliberations tonight, or if we get through deliberations tonight, we'd meet across the street. So I guess it's a question for all the members of the board, whether you would like a day and a half to think about where we're at and
I think
regroup
we've
on.
had 2 weeks to think where we're at, and I don't really want to ask all the department heads and all the people from the school and everybody to come back out again. I feel like we just identified $140,000+ plus your 168.
140.
Between if we do open space and the police,
okay.
that's 140 plus the 168 for the turf.
Yeah, I forgot about the open space. So 75.
And this extra money in the SIP account, it's just been laying there stagnant, maybe going through that.
Well, believe me, I had to do a line by line sweep. It was going cross-eyed, just to come up with what I have with me, and I wasn't. If I saw something, a block of money where there'd been an expenditure, I didn't touch it. Jim, what was the number on from the police?
70.
Probably take 70,000 out of the 82,000 sitting in last year.
Okay, so that's 175, right? No.
No, 145
Getting tired.
and 168. A little over.
How much, Bill? The total of those three items?
$213,000 by my calculation. 213.
313.
313. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm tired, guys.
Yeah, it's a long way, 313, which
Forgot
again,
to carry the one.
we still, disagree with, because I think the 313, that's including that.
That's including the open space. Right? There was 75,000 of open space, money, 70 plus 168 is 313. Yeah, check my arithmetic.
How about like, 25,000 off the sidewalks?
David, which one is that? Is that an operating or SIP?
That was an operating, I believe.
So I think that we can't touch, and Tom or Chris can speak to that, but that's money that I believe we use before paving. So like, it kind of goes hand in hand, or it's like for repairs. It's like we underfund our sidewalks so badly that I think beyond just the right thing to do, it's like a liability issue.
It was like 125,000, I think.
We did cut out of the SIP, the sidewalk engineering money, which again, I don't agree with, but it was a cut we were willing to do. I wouldn't touch the operating, but Tom, do I have that wrong?
It looks like we were increased 0%.
Thanks, Nate.
Well, that's progress.
Yeah, but we still need to settle on a number for the school budget.
What about, were we taking some out of, we had 50 in climate change?
Yep.
Half.
Did you include that?
Well, because climate change task force wanted to keep that, I think, for in the future. Do you want to talk to it?
If you'd like,
What are you going to use it for?
So the money is not for the climate change to expend. It is intended for grant matching funds so that our grants office can use that for projects that involve climate change, focused projects. So for example, if we're looking at the Masons Island Bridge is being funded, but the approaches are not. And the engineering alone for that is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is something that certainly could go towards a project like that. And the idea with this fund, when we designed it at the Climate Change Task Force, was that this would be a fund that would be periodically growing over time to show that the town is interested in mitigating the risk associated with the effects of climate change. And so much so that, I think in our AAA bond rating, the release in November mentions our 2017 and 2023 climate change and hazard mitigation plans. So the net effect of putting money aside for this sort of effort is to show that we are serious about solving these problems.
This isn't something that we'll be using anytime soon, probably, right?
I'd be happy to work with the town office to see if we could fund a project with that money, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's been sitting in a while.
I would prefer to see this as a revolving fund that we could fund annually, yeah.
How do other people feel about that? What's everybody else think?
Jean or Paul or Mike?
No?
Well, so we found 313. And now what the question is,
What do we do with it?
what do we do with it?
Oh, we reduce.
I would like to see it go to mitigate the 300,000 that was preliminarily cut from the Board of Education adopted budget.
Just can't get your people to cut.
Well, I think if we cut 313 and we restored 111 to the school, not giving them everything, but not nothing. You know, that's still 212 that we're cutting. Again, it's not 1.2 million, but it is a little over 200,000 additionally cut.
Yeah, this is what I was hoping we would cut, reduce using this found money, reduce the liability on the taxpayers, rather than shove it to some other area, and just bait and switch. I mean, it doesn't solve reducing the budget.
I get what you're saying, and again, I don't think the full 313 should go fully back in. It's, could 111 of that go back in and the other 212 stay as a reduction? Because if not, again, just negotiating theory, I think we lose 2 of the votes for any reduction. So I don't know, it's kind of a question to Bill, Jean, and Paul at this point.
I would be okay with having that 313 offset against the general budget, but I would not be okay with restoring, using that for the Board of Ed. You've seen tonight that this board has really looked at the details as presented, has done its due diligence, and felt that the budget as presented for the Board of Ed is reasonable, particularly with what I've referenced before, with the high costs and the declining enrollment. So if the board feels that taking $313 off of the $313,000 off the general budget, I'll certainly vote for that, but not to turn it over to the Board of Ed.
I think I had some notes from when people were speaking about the Board of Ed budget, and we heard some numbers from people at the podium that did not jive with the numbers that were presented to us by the Board of Education. Specifically, we heard reference to class sizes of 25, and I did some quick arithmetic on some other numbers, like maybe a class size of 33. In the Board of Education's presentation to us, I don't recall any class at the elementary school or the middle school that was greater than 20, and a lot of them were closer to 15 or 16, 17, which by comparison to other school districts is a pretty low number.
That's inaccurate information.
I'll
leave.
I can only speak to what was presented to the Board of Finance by the Board of Education.
And Bill, I don't want to speak for any of the people who spoke for the board, but I took that comment more to mean that there might be certain classes at the middle school that have those higher numbers, but I think the numbers we saw were on average, so I think there are some classes that are higher numbers due to some of the reductions there, but to your point, I mean, I think the numbers they presented to us were more on average. I think the core thing, I mean, I don't know if I can think, but to get this moving possibly for the 3 people who wanted the 300,000 cut, and then there's 3 of us who want to restore 111, we keep talking about that 62,965. I think that was kind of found money, and that is in our cut. You know, so we're talking about the 300. So what if we, you know, for I guess Mike and Chris thinking about that 63,000 that was kind of found money, and then to the other members who want more cut, could we find something even between the numbers where we are?
So you would like us to, you found $63,000 in the police budget, you would like to use that?
No, I'm saying the 63,000 that we've been talking about for this, that the school found. So like, we keep talking about our cut is 300,000, but our cut is actually 363.
Yes, it was 363.
So if we.
No, that's very confusing, that 60, I think it was 69,000. And that's very confusing because, their original numbers, how do I say this? There was, the original numbers they presented to us, there was kind of an apples to oranges thing going on. And I don't know where that, when they came back to us to address that, they reduced their budget by 63 or $69,000.
That was the insurance credit, right?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what it
Yeah,
was.
I guess
The
I'm just
insurance
saying
credit.
though, if we're looking at that full reduction, like instead of, I'm trying to find, is there a middle ground here of, I'm saying restore 111,000.
All right, I'll throw a compromise
All
out.
right, thanks, Paul, save me here.
You're dying over there.
I'm just dying over here. I'm 4 minutes in.
If we really have 313,000, 50,000 more back to education, and the balance comes off our budget. So 263 goes back towards some of David's concerns, and comes off, and 50 goes back. I know we're all compromising. I just don't think that the Board of Ed presented a reason why we need to. And that's where Gene, I think, is right. They really haven't, but if we're gonna get off the, what's the old thing? Get off the snide? Something like that.
Get off top dead center.
I'll move a little bit because we found more money. But we listened in detail to everything. And the only response I get, again, a lot of the comments should be directed at the Board of Education, not at us. And that's what, I don't know, after this budget, all these people that talked here should go to the next Board of Ed meeting and hammer them to spend the money the way they want it to be spent. The reason frankly, the reason I reduced the cuts, not beyond the 300,000 and proposed adding 0.75%, because Bill and I sat down with PTO members, presidents, vice presidents of all the PTOs, of all the schools, and we listened to what they had to say. And they were persuasive, and they were pleading, and it made sense what they were talking about. But frankly, what they were pleading about is, please don't cut because we need help convincing the Board of Ed to spend money the way we want to spend the money. So I wish the PTOs would get together and go talk to the Board of Ed. I just didn't hear. You're coming from someone who spent literally thousands of volunteer hours supporting education. Literally thousands. Maybe it's in the 5 figures of hours supporting education, supporting budgets, call centers, all that. It's not because I'm an old guy now that I don't. But I saw the cheese or the bread being made or the sausage being made, and they did a great job at presenting it to us. I don't know where this other money needs to be spent. Just because they asked for it, they didn't demonstrate it, and that's why I feel where we are. But I'm willing to compromise. We found 313,000. I'm ready to give an extra 50 and go against, frankly, my better judgment and the facts, the way they're presented, and put 263 towards the town, away from the town.
I would say if on average we're saying a position is about 100,000, I mean, I do kind of like Paul's compromise. Well, it's not exactly where I want to be, but that's something where I would think you could maybe hire mid-year with the commitment that is going to be going forward the following year. And I know that's something the police have done really well to try and offset their needs and taxpayer kind of balance, where they'll put in for like a half a year. And that way it can be, the pain kind of can be spread for taxpayers over 2 years. So, I can see some people being like, oh, 50K is nothing, but that could be a position halfway through the year, or if you can find funding from some of these other areas that we're talking about, it could even be the full year. So if, in the art of compromise, I would be fine with the 263 going back to taxpayers and adding 50K instead of the 111 to the school.
Anybody else want to jump on that bandwagon? No, Chris doesn't, I know
That's
David
fair.
doesn't.
I pushed it too far already.
I
That's
know
okay.
David doesn't. Mike or Gene?
I don't know, I appreciate your interest in trying to help out the Board of Ed. I'm not sure whether $50,000 will really move the needle, but if that's what it's going to take, then I'm okay with it. But the fundamental principle is that the Board of Ed got $2.3 million, and they need to find ways, as Paul said, to meet the needs of the PTO and the students within the budget.
Okay, I will jump on the bandwagon too, which means I guess we have 4 votes to do that.
So what are we doing?
Well,
So we'll do a reduction, an additional, which Jim, maybe you can work some magic, but the 257, by Paul's numbers, reduction, but then adding 263, right, Paul, is that what you said? 263 reduction to the overall funding required, but adding 50K to the schools.
Are we just adding that to fund balance? Expenditure, use of fund balance?
what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't touch we didn't touch the climate change money, did we?
No.
I left it.
So yes, added to the
Okay,
fund balance.
So 75,000 would come out of open space in the existing budget, and the rest would come as an offset in undesignated fund, right?
Jim, did you follow all the CIP? Did you follow all the CIP sweeps? See, all the places in CIP where we identified,
I got 168,650 for the turf replacement, full turf replacement, $70,000 from the body camera, $75,000 from open space.
yes,
$313,650.
Yes.
Anything else?
yes, that's it.
And then it was adding 50,000 to the school general education overall.
And
50,000 from the, so instead of a 363 cut, it'd be,
It becomes 47957 197.
we'll do it again.
Say that again, Bill, sorry.
Jim, do you need that again?
So you want to make the Board of Education $48,007,147?
No, it's 47 million.
No, because it was 47,957, 147, and we're adding 50,000.
Yeah, we can't add $50.
So it's 48.
Jim, it was 48,747, yeah. Can we get a motion to do that?
Yeah, okay. Can I have a motion to increase the Board of Education budget by $50,000 from 47,957,147 to $48,747?
So moved.
I don't have that right. I still don't, I can't read my own writing. 48,000.
Maybe Jim.
48,007,147.
7,147.
Yes. So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Second.
No. Danielle beat you.
She can get out of that.
No, we're going to give it to Danielle. Any other further discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so passed 6-1. With David opposing? Okay.
Can we get our new numbers?
What's that?
Could we get our new numbers?
Yes.
Well, now, so in the SIP, well, they, reduce the SIP by $313. That was, how much the SIP brought, the SIP project happy about?
No, I think, did you already capture them? Because it's 75,000 coming out of our current SIP for open space.
So I said,
The 75,000 of that is coming out of our SIP for open space request, so that line
This
item.
year.
we're talking about three numbers.
Yep.
Turf, $168,650.
Yep,
Body camera, $70,000, and open space, $75,000.
yep.
So am I reducing this?
You're reducing
You're
the,
going to reprogram that money to fund another SIP, is that what we're doing?
yes. Okay, but let's take it one at a time. The $75,000 for open space is that's a reduction in this year's SIP.
Yeah, the whole $313,000 will be a reduction this year, so.
I think
No, no,
we
no,
just
no.
want to be sure that in this year's SIP, there's a line item for open space that's funded at 75,000. That should have a reduction in the budget. Yep, to
Okay,
0.
Danielle.
And then the other two.
Danielle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, the 168,000 and change isn't in this year's SIP budget. That's we got to do an accounting, some accounting gymnastics to get that money back into fund balance where it belongs. Follow me?
It'll go into fund balance. What I'm going to do is on line 134 in the SIP budget, I'm going to have that as a reappropriation
Okay,
of SIP fund balance.
okay.
So you want me to do that for the 168 and the $70,000 for this?
Yeah, was the $70,000, that's from a previous year's budget, right? Okay, yes,
So that'll be $238,650.
right.
Okay. The mill rate would be 19.23, 1.05 increase, nominal increase over the prior year. 19.23. 19.23.
Okay, there's one other, we had also reprogrammed some SIP money during the previous deliberations to the tune of about 200,000, I think. Jim?
We didn't reprogram it, we took it out of the budget, put it in the fund balance. And
No, we put some, we moved some money, we basically undesignated it and put it in SIP fund balance, right?
Yeah, it's in SIP fund balance, that's 113,000. That was 53,000 from file retention, 50,000 from the restroom.
Right, the Wattawannock,
10,000 from NES, the New England Science and Sailing Center. That was 113,500.
Okay, I don't think we had actually talked about the NES money. And I think we need to take that out because that appropriation technically hasn't expired yet. So back that out.
So 103,500.
Okay, but we did not use that yet as an offset, right?
We did not.
Okay, so we want to use, everybody agree we want to use that as an offset?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so where do we end up when we apply that offset?
That brings you down to 19.20, mill rate is the 1.02 nominal increase.
Okay, so Danielle has suggested we need a motion to use that offset. Right? We already did the other money, right?
Yep.
In the motion. Well, I remember voting on plussing up the Board of Ed budget. Did we actually do a motion on the?
No.
No.
No. Okay, so we need a motion to. What was the first number?
Taking 168,650 from the old turf account, $70,000 from the body cam account, 53,500 from the file retention account, and 50,000 from the borough.
Comfort station.
Comfort station.
Comfort station.
Okay. Can I get a motion to make the adjustments that Jim just read?
So moved.
Okay, so Chris, is that Chris?
Here's Jean.
Jean?
Jean got it this time.
Okay, okay. All those in favor? Or I should say-
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous? And then the second piece of it was the CIP, using the CIP undesignated funds as an offset. How much was that, Jim?
342,150.
So, this is the, that number's confusing me.
Is that what we just did? Is that what we just did? Was that the approvals we just gave?
Yes.
Yes, we just did it. We're good.
Okay, but did that address the money that we'd already, the undesignated money in CIP?
Yes, that included the 113.5.
Okay. All right, great. Couple of other issues. Do we want to address any of the, we had a couple of minor increases at the Westerly Chamber. Does anybody want to address that?
As far as what?
They wanted us to put the money back.
Yeah, I would say no.
I think just to clarify, it was there. It's in there. It's $2,000 is in there.
It is?
Yeah, it is in there.
Okay.
What was that, Danielle?
The $2,000 is in there. We didn't cut it previously.
Yeah, I'm in favor of cutting.
Okay, but we left it, did we leave it alone because they weren't there? Okay. We didn't touch it, then we don't need to go there. Okay. I had one other request very late in the game here. from former First Selectman Don Marinell. There's some line in the budget where we fund flags for the VFW.
Yeah.
Okay. He asked if we could increase that by $300 to, because their postage has gone up or something like that.
Is that the one in admin services for the memorial observances, or is it?
He asked for an extra $300 to help offset increases in shipping and material costs. This is in support of placing flags on veterans' graves and at parades.
Okay, that would be line 23 of the admin services budget. Currently budgeted at $12,000, and increase that by 300.
How about round up to 500? Anybody okay with that? Somebody want to make a motion to increase?
Make a motion to increase that line item by $500.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes. Being a former fundraiser, I know how hard it is to raise money as a fundraiser. With that situation, and it's already a line item, so but I'm not in favor of increasing that, because if we increase it for them, so why won't somebody else come here and say, I'm surprised you don't have 100 agencies outside, sending us stuff in saying we want it, because it's almost automatic. We automatically give it. I know it's not a lot of money. To me, it's just the idea to open up a can of worms by doing this. And so that's my reason for not wanting to increase it.
Okay.
I think they could come up with the 300. So.
All right, well, Don also says that they provide flags to the Town Cemetery Commission, so.
Yeah, no, I have nothing wrong with it.
Well,
They do. I'm just explaining why I would want to.
okay, so any other comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
I guess the last issue, and I know Danielle kind of pointed it out to me at one of our previous meetings. There's a line in the budget, and I guess it's kind of mislabeled as rent for the Board of Finance and the Planning and Zoning Commission to use the school buildings on a de minimis basis. The charge to us, or the amount in our budget is $1,800, but the amount in the Planning and Zoning Commission is $18,000. And I'm unaware that, my understanding that in the past, the Board of Education has not billed us for basically custodial services. I think it was just baked into the budget that we give them for custodial services, and I don't know where this practice originated. My understanding is it started last fall. So I thought I should allow the members of the Board of Finance to address, if they have concerns about this, they should kind of address them.
I would like to know why they're asking for this. What is it for? You mentioned janitorial services. Is that what it is for, or other things?
We have Tim and Alicia here, but I'll give a summary as I understand them, and you guys can correct me, but I think it's in their union contracts that they have to pay their custodial staff for the extra hours, which is very fair and needed. I think where, and it's a real cost. That's not like a made-up number. They looked at how much it was going to cost. And I know rec, I think, has been paying it. There's for basketball, but those costs they can pass on to people who do the program. So I think that hadn't been as much of an issue. And I know the school tries really hard to share it. For sharing the high school, they don't charge us. It's when it's just for us. I think where the contention, we've talked about this, comes is, there's a lot the town staff does in our budget for the school, a lot the police does in their budget for the school, that it was just one of those things that kind of stood out like a sore thumb, and I think it was inadvertent, but, either somebody does have to pay the bill, so it's really just where does it sit? So I mean, I think it doesn't necessarily need to be a huge point of debate, because either way taxpayers are paying for it and it needs to happen. It's just that I think, it got called out in those budgets and got some attention this year.
Maybe they could use some of that 50,000 extra you gave.
Well, my concern is, at some point it's a fiscal policy matter, and the Board of Finance sets fiscal policy. And ultimately, the money comes from the taxpayer. There may be a legitimate accounting reason for the Board of Ed to want to do this, but I just wanted to put it on the table.
Somebody's got to pay it.
But I also don't think that historically Board of Finance or Planning and Zoning has paid this, and so.
That might not work.
Yeah, it's not working.
So last year, after the $750,000 cut to the Board of Education budget, we looked for different ways that didn't impact student programming to reduce our budget. And so it didn't make sense for us to have a full-time 8-hour custodian at district office for hours after anybody was even there. So the building isn't in use every single night past 5 o'clock. And so that person would essentially be idle if we continued to have them there. So that person now is deployed to other buildings in the district to reduce substitute and overtime costs by using that person. But what that means is then when we need to keep that person at district office for a meeting, we then have to pay. There's a fee associated with it because we either can't send that person out or we have to bring a substitute in. So there is no building usage fee, and the high school is always open. So it's just a matter of using that specific space at district office. And I know the planning and zoning tends to go very late. So our person, I think he's scheduled to be there until 10 o'clock. So if a meeting is going until 11, that's automatic overtime that has to be paid. Does that make sense? Any questions? And there's also the fee for police and fire if it's expected to be 100 or more people attending.
Okay, we got the other mic working back now.
So do we just want to leave it and move on? Yes. So I think we are pretty much wrapped up. Everybody agree? Okay, Jim, I guess the next thing we've got to do is formally set all the budget numbers, right?
All right. Proposed mill rate is 19.20.
19. It went up?
That's what he said before.
Like he said 19.20, and the increase was 1.02.
Which is a 1.02 nominal increase over prior year. It's a 5.61% increase in the mill rate over prior year. Not to be raised by taxes would be $79,288,000. $327,521.
May I have that number again, please?
Amount to be raised by taxes will be $79,327,521.
Thanks, Jim.
Total budget would be $89,585,864. Again, that's $89,585,864. General operations would be $31,702,118.
Please repeat that.
General operations would be $31,702,118. Board of Education would be $48,007,147. And Board of Education, $48,007,147. Debt service,
48,007,000 or 700,000?
7,147. Debt service would be $7,122,875.
You're gonna have to repeat it again.
Capital improvements would be $2,753,724. And that's capital improvements, $2,753,724.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, so what,
You can add something on to the, what we're using in unused funds, right? Can we add
Fund balance, you want to know
Fund
what
balance.
is fund balance?
2 million, we added some money into that, right?
No, this is fund balance, general fund balance. The SIP fund balance doesn't enter into it. So use of fund balance remains at $2 million.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's correct, Jim. Because some of the expired SIP money, doesn't that have to go back into fund balance and then come out of fund balance? I don't think, it's an expired appropriation, I don't think we can leave it sitting in SIP.
All right.
That's the 13,000.
It was 168 plus.
We used the 342,000, so. All right, you gotta break this down, right? So. Reappropriate $342,150 SIP. And how much, which ones are you saying? Which ones are you saying are over? 168?
The 168, hold on, actually, Chris, did we deal with the 50K from climate change? But it's expired, but it's got to be reappropriated.
I move we reappropriate the 50K for climate change task force.
The compost station is, I don't know.
Actually, maybe we can just leave it how you set it up, Jim, because we're reappropriating it and then the town's voting on it. Do we want to table this and regroup with the correct numbers on Wednesday?
No.
I don't think people have to come back for this.
Yeah, some people do. So, I mean, I think we're close. I mean, Jim, it's just, right, you put it all in as an offset for SIP, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Okay, no, I get it now.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're good.
Reappropriating
within
Okay.
zip, and that's fine.
And did that include the climate change money?
What?
The climate change, the 50K for?
Yes.
Okay, but we didn't actually do a motion on the, did we do a motion on the climate change money?
Sorry, no, that does not include the climate change.
No, we didn't change that.
We didn't touch it.
Okay, so we need to reappropriate the 50K for climate change as well.
So Jim doesn't have to do anything with the budget for that, we just need a motion to make it legal.
Right,
Okay. Second, Chris's motion.
okay.
So we're going to increase the.
No.
You're good, you don't have to do anything with the budget. Bill wants us to be street legal, which is fine, so.
Yeah, street legal, right,
We
That's a
reappropriated
term.
342,000 within SIP.
yes.
That does not include climate change.
Okay, so then the number should be 392,000 within SIP.
So you want to make it 392,000.
Right, we got to vote on it. And the only thing I would ask Chris to add to the motion that, because there's no defined grants or projects specified for that money, the final approval of what it gets used for should come back to the Board of Finance.
As amended.
Okay, thank you. All right, everybody follow that? So we're going to reappropriate this expired climate change SIP money. It's going to go back to the Climate Change Task Force when it's intended as grant seed money.
Let's not be there. Is this affecting the budget?
No.
No.
Let's do this another night.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not changing any of our numbers, because it's already there.
yeah, but it's an appropriation that's got to be voted on as part of the budget.
All right, Carrie's saying yes. Okay, so we already have the motion, so let's just finish it, right?
Yeah.
We're just to reappropriate from an expired fund to a current fund. But Jim explained it to us.
If you're voting to appropriate this, it's going to add to the budget.
But then are we,
Detract from the budget. It's going to affect this year's budget if you vote on it right now.
versus if we
Okay.
leave it in a defunct
All right.
SIP account and then try and reappropriate it at a later
We
date.
can sort it out later, and if we just have to deal with it as a budget transfer, we can do that. All right,
I'll rescind the motion.
okay, all right. Sorry for confusing everyone. Okay.
Yeah, we need to vote on the budget.
Okay, so I need a motion to, we need to go through all these numbers? Okay, so I need a motion that we're going to set the budget, that raise taxes by $79,327,521. For a total, the total budget is $89,585,864. With a general budget of $31,702,118. The Board of Ed budget of $48,007,147. Debt service of $122,875, and capital improvement of $2,753,724. I have a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Who motioned in a second?
Danielle and Paul was second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes 5-2. Is everybody else? Okay. Is there any other business before us? I do not believe so. Oh, do we need to have a motion to set the mill rate?
That part.
Yep, okay. Right, and can I get a motion to set the mill rate at 19.20?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. The motion, both motions passed. I don't believe we have any more business before us, so can I get a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
At 10:16.